Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we find ourselves in 18th century London, where you'll be trying to create beautiful sets of furniture containing chairs, chests, and tables. But you'll also be training your workers from apprentices to journeymen to masters. Cabriole is a game of furniture making in the 18th century London. It's for 2 to 4 players, takes 60 to 90 minutes to play, is for ages 14 and up, and published by Merryday Games, who in the past published a great game called Garden Dice. Now, it's being crowdfunded right now. I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a crowdfunding preview, so all the art and components you see here are not final. These are prototypes. To see all the most up-to-date art and components, check the link in the description of this video. Now in Cabriole, you have 6 rounds to do your best at running a business and trying to make tables, chests, chairs, hiring workers, training them up, and trying to have the most prestige in the end. Now you'll be making money or prestige for creating these items, but you're also trying to create a full set of a table, chair, and chest because that's going to give you some bonuses at the end of the game. Now everyone starts with a board and some assistants, 5 of them exact, and you'll start with some money. There's a randomly assigned by a starter card, and you'll also start with 2 types of workers, like I have an apprentice carver and an apprentice upholder. Later on I might want to hire a joiner or turner, as those are the workers that we'll need to actually build the different types of items. As you can see, this chest needs a journeyman joiner and a journeyman turner. So they need a joiner turner. This one needs a joiner and upholder, joiner and turner. So you need those different workers at different levels. And we'll talk about how you train these to better versions of these workers and how you get the resources to spend these to in order to create these in just a moment. Now the main phase of the round is the placement phase. And in this phase, you're going to be placing workers, your assistants, out to different queues on the board in order to resolve those in the resolution phase a little bit later. Now, these spaces here are going to allow you to get cards from this row, which are essentially projects that you're working on to try to gain money or prestige, and prestige is how you win the game. You might be going to the guild hall to hire or train the different workers that we talked about that you'll need to finish the projects. And you might be going to the market to buy the resources like oak, walnut, silk, and mahogany. Now, these queues all are very important because they're going to be working in sort of whoever got there first or whoever placed their worker first, because in every spot on the board, the faster you get there, the better it is for you. So you have to decide which things are most important, which things you have money for, which ones you don't. So it has an economic aspect as well. So again, each player is placing one of their assistants on one of the spots, and once all players have placed all their assistants, then you're going to go to the resolution phase. Something that you want really bad, you want to go first because you're going to be the first to choose. So let's show you how some of these spots work. So you start in the upper left, and we're looking at this row of cards here, and these are the pieces of furniture that you're trying to build. Now, we see green and blue had put an assistant here. Now, this uses a queuing system, right? So anytime you place your worker, you're going to the earliest spot. This means green is going to get the first choice, and blue is second. So this really adds a lot of depth to the worker placement because you're not just deciding where you're going to go, but you're deciding when you're going to go there based upon what the choices are and what the other players might want from that row. And so the green player is going to take this and they're going to put it to the left side of their board, and then they'll take their assistant and take it back. Now, blue has these to choose from, and they're hoping that they didn't take the one they want. They were fine because they wanted this one, and so they're done with their choice there. Now we go to the next one, the next row here, and blue was the only one to place there, and so they get to choose any 4 of these, and let's say they take something like this. It's a special projects card, and this just allows them to take 2 walnut as resources, and they take their assistant back. Now after all 4 rows are resolved, we then come to the extra projects. Now here's where players went if they wanted to get more than 1 card, but the trade-off is they're going there after all those 4 rows were resolved, so they're not sure which cards are going to be available when it comes now time to resolve this. And we're red, so we're really sort of shaking in our boots here because the other player is going to get up to 2 cards, and we're hoping they don't take the ones that we've been hoping to get because we really needed 2 this turn. So let's say green decided to take this, which allows them to hire or train a carver. We'll talk about how this works later. And then let's say they also take a table. And then finally, it's our turn to do this. And we are really happy because the 2 cards we really wanted were right here. And it actually, if you remember, had a green and blue assistant there. We were really sweating it out, hoping they didn't take the cards we needed because we had a great plan for this round. Now, another aspect of these rows of cards that I haven't mentioned yet is that you saw that there were 4 rows here. And by the way, the amount of cards that I put in this grid are dependent on the number of players, so it scales for player count. But as soon as any 3 rows have at least 1 assistant on it, the row that does not have one gets an off-limits token. This means that players cannot place their assistants in this row to get this. So there's a little bit of a race and a little bit of some tension there to figure out when you want to go to some of these row spaces with your assistants to try to get things. Now, this happens in all rounds 1 through 5. You don't use this in the last round of the game. So normally you cannot place here. However, if you are at the extra project space, you can take a card or 2 cards from the off-limits row. However, you have to pay for them. $2 for 1 or $5 for 2. So again, a trade-off of when to go where. Then we go to the guild hall where we're going to create train workers or gain workers. So in this case, I'm going to go to the carver and I'm going to go here. The faster you go there, better. This one's only going to cost me 2 money, and I went to the carver space. Now, I already had an apprentice carver because that's what I started with randomly, but I am going to train them, so they're going to go to journeyman. Now, notice that you need a journeyman carver to get the table, so I did some planning. We'll show you how this works out a little bit in just a moment. And the other players will do so in the queue. Now, this is important because look at this. Green went last. They really wanted a Turner, but blue went there first. They only played 3. This player, if they really wanted it, had to pay 5 for that. Now, starting with the market, you'll start with oak and work your way left to right, top to bottom. So you go oak, walnut, silk, and then mahogany. So green is the only one here, so they get to decide where they want to go. They can buy 1 oak for 2, 2 oak for 5, 3 oak for 9, or 4 oak for 14. So let's say they decide to spend $5 and they get 2 oak of the resources. And you go here, and again, green got there first, and they're only going to want 1 walnut, so they paid 2, and we wiped the sweat off our brow again because we really needed 2 walnuts, so we paid $5. Now we got to go first for silk, so we're only going to spend $3 to get 1 silk, where blue has a different plan. They're going to spend $12 to get 3 silk. And then we go to mahogany. And again, we're second. At this point, the tension is there. Blue is going to want to get 3 mahogany for 15. And again, we squeak it out because we really needed 2 mahogany, and we spent 9. Now again, this is a hypothetical round. I wouldn't have actually had enough money to do everything I'm showing you in the first round, but I'm showing this to show the example of trying to make some furniture, which we're going to get to soon. Then you go to the production phase. Starting with the start player, they decide which project cards, if they want to complete. Now again, I wouldn't have had all that starting money to make this big of a turn on my first round, but I want to show you how this works. Let's say I'm broke now, right? And so I have the silk, I have walnut, I have mahogany. Those are the resource discs in my warehouse there. And let's say I want to build both of these. Now, by default, an apprentice can build 1 project per turn. Journeyman, 2, and the master can do 4. So my carver can actually do 2 projects. My upholder can do 1. So it's great because my carver, such as journeyman, will be able to do this one and be able to do this one. He can do 2 projects. And so this both need a carver. And of course, he can do the journeyman, and the apprentice is less than a journeyman, so of course the journeyman carver can do that one as well. And the upholder, we needed an apprentice of that. I have that. So I actually have enough trained workers to do both of these cards. Do I have enough resources? Well, yes, I need 2 walnuts, 2 mahogany, and a silk, and that's exactly what I have. So I would pay these back to sort of the resource bank off to the side of the board, and I would complete both of these cards. Now again, this is what you're trying to do. I would not have had enough money to do this in the first round, but those are the things you're trying to work together. Now, one of the biggest decisions in the game is when you fulfill these, you get to decide, do you want the money or do you want the prestige? Do I want 16 bucks and 22 bucks, or do I want 11 points and 15 points, essentially prestige? Or do I want maybe 22 money and 11 prestige, or 16 money and 15 prestige? What do I want to do here? It's one of those games where you got to decide when to take the money and when to take the points. Well, I'm broke because I just spent all my money. So I might do this in points, or maybe I want to have an influx of cash, right? And so who knows? Those are the decisions that you do. And then these would go to the right side of your board because you finished them, because that'll be for set collection at the end of the game. Now, when you go to a new round, one thing I didn't mention last time is there's a prep phase, and any project cards off to the left of the board there that were not taken, they get a coin added to them. So they make them a little more advantageous or enticing to get. And any of them that already have 3 coins on them, meaning they've been there for a while, those get removed. And then you just refill up the slots. Now, there's 2 different decks of cards. Deck A goes through rounds 1 through 3, and Deck B is going to be used through rounds 4 through 6. And those decks essentially are designed to be balanced to give you the best experience throughout the entire game. Now after the 6th round, you're going to go final scoring, and you get bonus points for having a set. A vignette is a chair, chest, and table, and for each complete vignette, you get 10 prestige. A partial one, which is meaning any 2 of those, you get 5 prestige. Then you'll also get prestige depending on how many craftsmen you have gotten trained, a journeyman or master. And depending on how many total you've had, you'll get more prestige as well. You'll also get some money for leftover resources, like 2 coins for each walnut and oak you have, 3 for each silk, and 4 for each mahogany. And then you'll get 1 prestige, essential point, for every 5 leftover coins after you do that, and whoever has the most is the winner. Well, there you have Cabriole, and as I showed in the overview, it's a worker placement game with an economic aspect, where you need to decide how to run your own business. But much like real business, the high player interaction facilitated by the unique queuing system has you always guessing what your competition is planning. Now this interaction brings a level of tension, hoping that they don't take what you want. Now you'll need to manage not only your own resources, but also the money you make from completing the furniture in order to make the next one. Again, just like in real business. Now, but eventually you'll need to decide when it's the right time to either take money as rewards to make more furniture, or prestige in the end is how you win. Now, you're also managing your employees with tough decisions on whether to hire new craftsmen, opening yourself up to different furniture opportunities, or training the employees you already have to help build better furniture and be more efficient. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link directly below me in the description of this video. That's going to bring you directly to the project page, and I'm sure that Merry Day Games would love your support.